40 Palestinian men hiding in a garbage truck as they attempted to cross into Israel, apparently in search of work. The men were discovered late on Monday at a West Bank checkpoint. Video footage shows them being pulled from the truck's waste compartment. Israeli authorities say the men were trying to infiltrate central Israel. Police described the men as illegal entrants, a term that usually refers to Palestinians who sneak into Israel looking for work. Israel revoked tens of thousands of Palestinian work permits since Hamas' October 7, 2023 attack. Desperate for jobs, some Palestinians have been resorting to smuggling themselves into Israel for work at great personal risk. A Russian overnight drone strike has damaged port and civilian infrastructure in Ukraine's Odessa region. According to regional authorities, the attack targeted the Izmail port area, damaging a civilian vessel flying a Panamanian flag, as well as a pier and a barge. The strike also destroyed a service station building, 2 passenger buses and 7 vehicles, while 6 private homes and an ambulance sustained damage. Emergency responders say their operations were complicated by repeated air raid sirens during the incident. No casualties have been reported. A former student has opened fire at a high school in southeastern Turkey, injuring at least 16 people before taking his own life. According to the report, the 18-year-old attacker was armed with a shotgun.
The gunman reportedly fired indiscriminately at a vocational high school in Severek, located in El-Rufai province, before retreating into the building. Authorities say the victims include 10 students, 4 teachers, a canteen worker, and a police officer. Governor Hassan Shiudak confirmed that while most of the injured are receiving treatment in Severek, 5 victims with more serious injuries have been transferred to a hospital in the provincial capital. Security forces, including Special Operations Unit, were deployed to the scene and all students were safely evacuated. Officials say the suspects later died by suicide after being cornered inside the school. The motive for the attack remains unclear. School shootings are considered rare in Turkey, and authorities say a comprehensive investigation is underway.
And Benin's Finance Minister Ramod Wadagni has won the country's presidential election by a wide margin. According to provisional results released by the Electoral Commission, Wadagni scored more than 94% of the vote based on about 90% of ballots counted. An outcomes officers describe as decisive.
The 49-year-old candidate was widely expected to win after the main opposition party failed to field a candidate, leaving Pohongbe as the only challenger. He has since conceded defeat and congratulated Wadagni. Wadagni was backed by outgoing President Patrice Talon, who is stepping down after serving 2 maximum terms allowed by the law. Voter turnout stood at just under 59% nationwide. Despite the clear victory, analysts note that the absence of a strong opposition made the election largely predictable. The incoming president is expected to confront key challenges, including rising insecurity and persistent poverty, particularly in northern parts of the country affected by extremist violence. Benin remains one of the West Africa's most stable democracies, although security concerns continue to grow across the region.
And 7 people, including 5 police officers, have been arrested in connection with a deadly stampede at a major tourist site in Haiti. The incident occurred during an annual cultural event at the historic La Ferre Citadel in northern Haiti, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Authorities say at least 25 people died in the stampede, with investigations now underway to determine the cause. Those arrested also include 2 staff members of Haiti's National Heritage Preservation Institute, which oversees the site. Officials say the tragedy may have been triggered by overcrowding after a large number of young people gathered for the event, reportedly promoted on social media. Witnesses claim panic broke out as people tried to force their way into the venue during rainfall, with reports that tear gas and gunshots may have contributed to the chaos. The Haitian government has declared 3 days of national mourning in honor of the victims. The Lafera Citadel, a historic fortress built after Haiti's independence, remains a symbol of the nation's heritage and resilience.
And the African Democratic Congress ADC convention eventually held in Abuja on Tuesday, with party faithful looking forward to a productive 2027 election year. The build-up to the convention have been enmeshed in controversy, from the derecognition of its executive to controversy of venue for the convention and the litigation pending in court. The party weathered all ill winds to take Tuesday's giant step. Will the move be legitimate in the eyes of the law? This is a question that will be answered in days to come. National chairman of the party, David Mark, says the party has positioned itself as a national movement for redemption. Mark also referred to INEC's derecognition of the executive as a direct assault on democracy. Other notable political figures at the convention include former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Speaker of the House of Representatives and former Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwa, former Kano State Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, former Rivers State Governor and Transport Minister Rotimi Amechi, and other former governors and 7 federal lawmakers. The Federal High Court in Kaduna has granted bail to former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai over alleged corruption charges. However, the court ordered that he remains in custody pending the fulfillment of bail conditions.
Manu Aikawa granted the former governor bail in the sum of 200 million naira, with 2 sureties in like sum. Describing the conditions as strict and extensive, the court ruled that El-Rufai must remain in the custody of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission until all conditions are met. As part of the conditions, 1 surety must be a civil servant, not below grade level 15, while the other must be a recognized traditional ruler, with both required to deposit their passports with the courts. He is also barred from making public comments on the case and must attend all court sittings.
We are, of course, happy that he's been granted bail today, but let me make it clear once again that there is the media opinion and then there's the legal opinion. It is wrong to speak about what happens in a court of law by the media, and the judge made that clear today, and will stand by that.
Meanwhile, at the Kaduna State High Court, ruling on a separate bail application was adjourned to April 21, following the inability of the presiding judge to deliver the decision.
ICPC has decided that it will charge us in different arenas. So we're expecting the one from customary court, the one from native court, and then maybe charged by planned quarantine, since everybody is looking for El-Rufai's eye.
The development comes amid ongoing legal proceedings involving the former governor in both federal and state courts, highlighting the complexity of the case. Abimadia Moses, AIT News, Kaduna.
The federal government has clarified that the Nigerian Air Force under the Operation Hardened Kai carried out a deliberate and intelligence-led operation on terrorist targets in Jili axis of Borno State, and not an indiscriminate attack as insinuated. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, gave the clarification in a statement in Abuja, noting the operation was conducted in one of the most active insurgent corridor designated a high-risk zone with clear security advisories restricting civilian presence. He extends the federal government's deepest condolences to the families of those affected and sympathizes with the injured. The minister announced a directive has been given to review intelligence targeting and execution to address any gaps and ensure accountability where needed. The government noted that he is working with the Borno and Yobe state government, as well as NEMA and SEMA, to provide humanitarian support to affected families. Stakeholders have called for stronger collaboration and strategic investment to harness artificial intelligence in addressing Nigeria's evolving security challenges. The call was made at a high-level donor roundtable organized by the Clean Foundation, bringing together development partners, policymakers, and security stakeholders to assess Nigeria's readiness for AI integration and explore sustainable investment opportunities.
Participants at the meeting noted that Nigeria is facing increasingly complex security threats, including terrorism, organized crime, cybercrime, and communal conflicts, requiring a shift from reactive responses to proactive, using technology-driven approaches. They highlighted artificial intelligence as a key tool that can enhance security governance through predictive analysis, early warning systems, and improved response mechanisms.
In the context of Nigeria today, and with the challenge we have in the area of insecurity, there is the need to begin to get away from the traditional way, scale it up to the point that there is this help that we'll be getting from technology.
Issues of data protection, accountability, and human rights were also identified as critical areas that must be addressed as Nigeria moves towards integrating AI into its security architecture.
What kind of information and instruction are given to the technology? So these are still human decision-making. In taking them, we must know their strengths and weaknesses.
The roundtable brought together development partners, policymakers, and security stakeholders to assess Nigeria's readiness for AI integration and explore sustainable development, investment opportunities.
And that's the world news on the Kakaaki, the African Voice this morning. Thank you for staying with us. Up next is Kakaaki Business.
Welcome to Kakaaki Business. United States small business sentiment dropped to an 11-month low in March as a surge in oil prices because of the war in Iran overshadowed the benefits from low taxes. The National Federation of Independent Business said on Tuesday its small business optimism index dropped 3.0 points to 95.8 last month, the lowest level since April 2025, and pushed it lower, its 52-year average of 98.0. The survey's uncertainty index jumped 4 points to 92, well above its historical average of 68. The survey followed on the heels of news last week from the University of Michigan survey of consumers that the consumer sentiment index plunged to a record low in April. A rebound in both small business and consumer sentiment is unlikely in the near term as oil prices shot up on Monday to more than $100 a barrel after the U.S. military said it 2 blockade ships leaving Iran's port. Crude prices have jumped more than 35% since the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran started at the end of February. Businesses were pessimistic about profit and sales prospects. The share of owners expecting better business conditions dropped 7 points to a seasonally adjusted 11%, the lowest since October 2024 and marking the 3rd consecutive monthly decline. Air travel's worst crisis in years lodged deeper on Tuesday as Qantas Airways warned of spiraling costs. Lufthansa said it may have to ground planes, and Virgin Atlantic flagged a looming supply crunch with the Iran conflict squeezing fuel supplies. The war has upended routes between Asia and Europe that relied on Gulf hubs, while a doubling of jet fuel prices and tightening of supplies are hitting airlines hard. Since the U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran began on February 28, carriers have hiked airfares, introduced surcharges, and cut routes. Underscoring efforts to preserve cash, Qantas has delayed a planned share buyback, citing higher and volatile fuel prices, one of the first major carriers to stall shareholder returns. Meanwhile, Lufthansa CEO Carsten Spohr And Germany's wholesale prices surged 4.1% year-on-year in March 2026, accelerating from a 1.2% growth in the prior 3 months and marking the 16th consecutive month. It was also the fastest rise since February 2023, driven by a 17.8% jump in prices of petroleum products and a 48.4% climb in the cost of non-ferrous ores, non-ferrous metals, and related semi-finished products. China's exports rose 2.5% year-on-year to $321.03 billion in March 2026, significantly missing forecasts of 8.3% and marking a sharp slowdown from February 39.6% surge. This marks the weakest growth since October 2025, driven by seasonal factors and a high base effect from March 2025's tariff-driven export rush rather than softening global demand. The later Lunar New Year in 2026 likely shortened March's production window, while the exceptionally strong export growth in March 2025, driven by companies rushing to avoid U.S. tariffs under President Donald Trump, created a challenging year-on-year comparison. Export growth slowed across most major regions, except for Taiwan and Hong Kong. Shipment to the U.S. plunged 26.5%, resuming in downward trend after February's brief pause in double-digit declines. For first quarter 2026, total exports grew 14.7% year-on-year to $977.61 billion. The World Steel Association on Tuesday cut its forecast for global crude steel demand this year, partly due to the Iran war slashing consumption in the Middle East. The industry group cut its forecast for growth in steel demand in 2026 to 0.3% at 1.72 billion metric tons from the previous forecast in October of 1.3%. Crude steel demand is expected to gain 2.2% next year to 1.76 billion tons. China, the world's biggest steel producer, is expected to see output fall by 1.5% this year due to its troubled property and construction sector and be flat in 2027. Demand in India, the world's fastest growing major steel market, is forecast to remain strong, climbing 7.4% this year and jumping 9.2% in 2027. The Federal Ministry of Finance Nigeria says the global economy is at a critical juncture, with emerging and developing countries facing multiple challenges, including geopolitical tensions, tighter financial conditions, and climate-related risk. In a press release, the ministry noted that Nigeria, as chair of the Intergovernmental Group of 24, is leading discussions aimed at strengthening collective responses to these pressures. According to the statement, key issues under consideration include boosting global economic resilience, reforming the international financial system, particularly IMF quota and governance structure, and expanding access to development financing. The ministry adds that participants also examine rising debt vulnerability, the need for improved debt resolution framework, as well as strategies to support job creation, inclusive growth, and long-term economic transformation. It further stated that Nigeria remains committed to building consensus among member nations, strengthening multilateral cooperation, and advocating a more inclusive and effective global financial system that supports sustainable development. Across Nigeria, many small business owners are struggling to stay afloat as rising costs, limited access to funding, and weak infrastructure continue to squeeze operations. For some, survival has become a daily battle. Experts at the SME clinic in Abuja believe the way forward lies in practical, targeted solutions, improving access to affordable finance, embracing digital tools, and strengthening business knowledge to help small enterprises remain resilient and competitive.
According to a 2023 National Bureau of Statistics report, about 80% of small businesses in Nigeria fail within their first 5 years due to poor financial management, lack of information and market research, high inflation, and infrastructure costs. But at this SME clinic in Abuja, National Coordinator of Idiot Entrepreneurs Development, Daniel Ehana, says, aside funding, there must be a paradigm shift.
The major thing that must change is paradigm, is mentality. It's not just about funding. You can give funding to people over and over again. They will fail over and over again. It's mentorship. that is very important. Practical mentorship, not the kind of mentorship that is theoretical, but a practical mentorship, which we have already structured.
When MSMEs have access to all this information, it makes their processes better. With my experience, with my 13 years experience as a BDSP, as a business development service provider, access to funding is also one of the major issues facing MSMEs. Challenges facing startups in Nigeria, lack of access to good information. A lot of them don't know that things like this are happening, as you can see the hall today. So when there's access to information, they know where to go to for mentorship, for training, for access to funding.
While many see environmental waste as a burden on the capital infrastructure, experts at the event are painting a very different picture. They argue that the path to diversifying Nigeria's economy isn't just in the ground, but in the bins and the waste we make.
It's a very common sense idea. We'll recover those bottles, we'll recycle them, and the people that support that mechanism of collection, provision to the recyclers, can make a lot of money, can put a whole family and kids to college on that opportunity. So that's just one small idea. The amount of organic waste in Nigeria is more than almost anywhere.
Identifying the challenges, the focus must now shift to practical solutions, ranging from mentorship, innovative financing options, and reforms aimed at helping small businesses survive and grow. And
that's Kakaaki Business. I am Olamide Ariyo.
Issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy. And our governments seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go. Every part of this country is important.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe it was for that reason in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Acting where is the law?
National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of
for the former president, yes. What I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices, too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. live on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel at AIT Live. My name is Adora Sidney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda. Gender Agenda. Women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program inside the parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m.
All right, everyone, welcome back from that break and from business. Of course, I'm not running the show solo this morning. If you were suspecting that already, I have the delectable Adora Onyechere Sidney John.
How are you? Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Good morning.
Fantastic.
Good to have you.
Great to have you. You look resplendent as always.
I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
You do better than me. Hello, everyone. Good morning, and it's great to be here this morning. A lot has happened politically, and of course, politics is taking a shape with the 80s convention,
Definitely.
which happened yesterday.
It held regardless.
Absolutely, and a lot of, sounding the alarms ahead of the 2027 and saying, you can't hold us down, and this too shall pass, but stronger we become. But that's for us to discuss later on in the show, indeed. All right, so we have a report coming up. Remember that in 2020, the Nigerian national election, perhaps, I beg your pardon, census population count was supposed to be underway, and a lot was supposed to have happened. There were a lot of conversations. We had the advocacy here, but then it was postponed indefinitely. However, going ahead of the census and population count, 2023, we couldn't make the mark, but now there is a window of opportunity for us to look at that national census population count, which will look from the year 2025 to the year 2026 and beyond. But let's take the special report and give you an insight on what lies between the lines. Stay with us.
Nigeria postponed its highly anticipated national population and housing census twice in 2023. Originally scheduled for March of that year, it was shifted to May before being suspended indefinitely, just days before kickoff, to allow the incoming administration to take the reins, despite high hopes that a new date would be proclaimed. Discussions have largely remained in a state of suspended animation.
Towards 2023, we were very close to that level 3 and level 4 readiness. After the 2023 Bosch census attempt, new things have come up. So we are already planning again towards the next census.
Nigeria last conducted a national population and housing census in 2006. Exactly 20 years later, the continent's most populous nation is still heavily reliant on estimated figures, many provided by foreign organizations, to drive its planning and development. The critical questions remains how soon the federal government will issue the required proclamation to prioritize this exercise.
At the point in time, all the questionnaires were ready. The tablets procured, power banks, we demarcated the country into 630,000, about 630,000 EAs. And now we are going to update all this in order to do the next census.
Development experts argued that the country's most pressing challenges, from infrastructure deficits and economic pressures to population management and healthcare distribution, cannot be effectively tackled without an accurate head count.
And then therefore we must act to make sure that we overcome it. The growth, the security challenges we have across the country is a product of population crisis.
The significance of the demography of Nigeria is either we exploit it to have our demographic dividend or the transition where we are, if we actually...
Besides the development cost, it's also the huge financial cost budgeted for the post-2023 exercise. The monies included foreign support and grants. Questions of accountability have been raised since the exercise was put on hold. But more official report has been made on the status of the census monies. And for now, the official date for the biometric head count remained out of sight. While a high-level committee was set up to review the financial and technological readiness, Nigerians are left wondering when the nation will get real value for the over 200 billion naira already sunk into the aborted 2023 preparations. Haz Akodi, AIT News, Abuja.
Interesting report then, Rena, when you talk about the census population count. Again, Nigeria had its last official census exercise in 2006, registering just about 140 million Nigerians at that time. With the postponement and now talking about the digital population count, I'm wondering how they are going to do that, because as of 2023, when it was postponed, the conversation was how to digitalize, the intervention. But then how do you also map the unmapped areas? How do you also get to the communities which is not covered by the demography, even on the map? So these are key questions. Again, the issue of logistical challenges were mentioned as one of the issues for postponement in 2023. Now, we hear that this is going to happen again with a population estimation of over 350 million by 2050. I'm wondering if we've not even surpass that count, with the areas that are unmapped. But it begs for a lot of explanation and clarification as well, and we look forward to that.
Yeah, we look forward to that, and we talked about this like 3 weeks ago on the program, and we're highlighting how the disadvantages of not knowing how many we are exactly can affect us, the output, the economy, and even our budget, because we need to know how many people we are planning for. So this affects the number of houses that we have. It affects the number of just everything, employment, job opportunities, jobs available right there. So if we're not able to say this is the number of persons that we are planning for, it means that we can always on the plan. And right now, we cannot but blame the absence of census for what we experience, because it might just be that 300 million of us, for example, we are sharing and feeding from the food of 200 million people.
Or less.
Or less, so yeah.
And the thing about this conversation on count is not just because we're looking at Nigeria and looking for the numbers to politically maximize, because oftentimes, when you hear census, it always comes around issues around election period, how to map the numbers, aggregate dynamics between gender, population, and this is always during and prior the issues around election. But I'm hopeful that this is not politically, motivated, because at the point we are in, Nigeria is the largest populous nation in Africa with an estimated growth of 2.1, I think, to 2.5%. And by 2050, we will be the third largest country in the world with the kind of growth we have in our population estimate. So the census would really help us to be able to have metrics on how many people we have in Nigeria, how does this affect the West African region, and how can we maximize the currency we have, and then also be able to legitimately say that we have over 60% of women in that population that needs to be on the policy table.
I would always mention women.
That's where I stand.
Right, and we hope that it's accurate enough, because I remember the last time I was was it home or something, when the experience was, so you come to a family and the family tells you they have 2 children, for example, but they'll tell you they have up to 6 or something, and this one is not around, this one is not around, and at the end of the day, so where you have place for number of children in the family, they feel sick. So I'm even wondering if our number, with the last count, official count, if we're even accurate about it. And since they say we are going digital, I'm looking forward to how that would help curb the excessive numbers, if any, that we may be having right now.
Indeed. Fingers crossed.
Right. So we have one more story to highlight before 7 a.m. It will be from Taraba State, where the governor, Agbu Kefas, has condemned the federal government's move to establish a livestock academy in the state, and has also assured of the state government support for the initiative. The governor was speaking in Jalingo when he received Nigeria's Minister of Livestock Development at the T.Y. Danjuma House.
Visit by Nigeria's Minister of Livestock Development alongside investors from the United States of America and Ireland was preparatory to the establishment of a livestock academy in Taraba State. According to the minister, Taraba State was selected for the project due to its large-scale livestock farming and investor-friendly environment. The minister lamented that pastoralists in the country have continued to depend on crude methods of livestock production despite the advancements in the field. Other components of the initiative are the modern techniques for dairy and beef production and also partnership with the Taraba State University.
However, to run livestock, ranch, dairy is a business. You need to go to school. That is where sustainability is assured. That is where investors will have confidence.
The minister was received by Governor Agbu Kefas, who highlighted that the state is the home of livestock and the decision to establish the Livestock Academy in the state is a step in the right direction. The governor commended President Bola Tinubu's show of passion for the project and thanked the heads of security agencies for their efforts.
What Nigeria needs in terms of livestock, Taraba is the home of livestock.
Governor Kefas added that he is confident that the federal government's delegation, led by the minister, will effectively deliver on the project. Lamini Chuye, AIT News, Jalingo.
Well, of course, Livestock Academy, one would say apt, but then again, you have to also marry it side by side with protecting lives and properties of also those people in the community. Justice for those whose lands have been taken abruptly and, illegally by farmer headers clashes. So I think that is a good, advancement for the people of Taraba State. But of course, like I said, insecurity, advancement, infrastructure should go hand in hand.
First things first. All right, from here, we'll go over to our social intervention segment, and after that, we'll return at 7 a.m. to the studio, and it will be newspaper review. Stay with us.
Get Fit in 60 seconds with Jolly Phillips. Now everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go! Hello again, Jolly Phillips here for your 1-minute workout. I hope you're ready. Today's workout is fun. We're going to slide and touch the floor. Slide and touch the floor. Are you ready? Your time starts now. I'm going to move with my left leg. Slide and touch. So right leg goes out, and then you step back with the other leg. Slide and touch. Let's go. Slide and touch. If you can't touch, just send that leg back for me and reach for the floor. Touch. Come on. Touch. Move this body. If you want to jump across, that's also okay. Yes? Like you're jumping over a puddle. That's it. Come on. If you can touch the floor, push your body. Push your body to go the extra mile. How many seconds left? 25. Come on, let's work. Yes. Push this body. Work those hamstrings. Work those lower ab muscles. Where are your hamstrings? The muscles at the back of your thighs. That's where we're working. Come on. 10 seconds left. You've got this. Push. Woo! I can feel this one. great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So until the next time, bye-bye.
Welcome to the Leadership Clinic. Today, I'm speaking on great leaders break bad habits. We all have habits we wish we didn't have. Each and every one of us is dealing with one or more of very bad habits that we just want to change, but sometimes it looks like we lack the capacity to actually bring about change. The interesting thing is that leaders are known for taking some tough decisions and making things happen. Maybe some of the bad habits that you have probably could be biting your nails when you are nervous. Maybe you procrastinate on important tasks. Maybe you spend too much money on things you don't even need. Or maybe you lose your temper too quickly. And every time you do it, you tell yourself, that's the last time. But then it happens again. Bad habits don't break themselves. You have to break them intentionally. So how do you do it? That will be the critical question that I'm asking today. First thing that you need to do is to identify the triggers. Every bad habit has a trigger, a time, a place, emotion, or person that activates it. Figure out what triggers your bad habits. Second, replace it. If you stress it, replace eating with a walk. If you scroll social media when you are bored, why don't you convert it into reading time? Your brain needs a substitute, and this is very important. Third, make it hard to do the bad habit. So delete the app, remove the junk food from your house, change your environment. Fourth, get an accountability partner. Tell someone you trust about your habits and ask them to check on you weekly. Fifth, be patient with yourself. Do not overjudge yourself. You didn't even build this habit overnight. It won't disappear overnight. But every day you resist is a day you are becoming stronger. So you're not a slave to your habit. You can change it. The truth of the matter is that you listening to me today, you can build positive habits as well. Habits that are enduring, habits that have capacity to catapult you into a place of influence. Imagine if you build habits of waking up very early in the morning, and then instead of jumping into your day after your prayers, you can actually take about an hour or two to just read something that can empower you. Imagine if you build successful habits that can actually make you stand out. The truth of the matter is that you must be able to be the kind of person that changes the bad habits and make it work. Great people of Nigeria, you must remember, if a man does not have a purpose to waking up, sleeping becomes interesting.
Have you ever wondered why your child is left-handed? Now, if both of you as parents are left-handed, there's a good chance that 50% of your children will be left-handed too. But if neither of you are lefties, the probability shrinks to only about 2%. Now, whether you're a left or right-handed parent, you need to recognize the opportunities and as well the challenges of raising a left-handed child. Make left-handedness feel like a blessing instead of a curse by simply treating it as one thing that makes your child distinct and special. Now, usually, if the left hand is more dominant than the right hand, it simply means that the right side of the brain is more dominant than the left side, which favors intuition, emotion, imagination, creativity, and as well holistic thinking. So if your left-handed child is artistic, for instance, creative and imaginative, is perfectly okay. Now, thinking outside the box is a specialty of lefties, which translates well to problem solving at school and even beyond. Now, so when they're young, you have, as a parent, the ability to help them develop both hands. So whichever they choose, stick with it. Honestly, that's my 2 kobo.
The issues news as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our government seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe we got federalism in our politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
The National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria.
Accountable, the leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. live on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel at AIT Live.
My name is Adora Sidney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda, women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
Thank you for staying with us. It's now time for us to bring you the headlines across the newspapers this morning on our newspaper review. And we do have our delightful reviewers in the house.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Both wearing white. All right, Dr. Yoboso Wajere, it's good to see you, PhD. Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much.
As well, as always. And Mr. Simon Rift, thank you so much for always being here.
I missed you several of these weeks.
All right.
And
I missed you too. I missed you too. All right, so let's get straight into the meat of the matter, Rana, shall we?
Yes, we shall. We're starting this morning with Daybreak, talking politics, and it says, ADC cannot be litigated into silence, says David Mark. Expels Nafio Bala Gombe. Honorable Leke Abejide as convention kicks off in Abuja. You find that story on page 2 of Daybreak this morning.
The Whistler is also blowing hot with the ADC. Says ADC blows hot at convention, says no to oppression. We won't surrender to APC's intimidation. David Mark Areboshola mocks Tinubu, says renewed hope is a scam. And that's on page 20 of the Whistler.
On the same story, leadership says, amid litigation, internal dispute, Mark-led ADC holds convention. Party chair Atiku Obi-Kwankwaso Aregbesola, others say Tinubu has failed. You'll find that on page 4 of leadership today.
And let's look at the Standard Times, of course, still looking at that lead trend, 2027. Renewed hope is a scam. Tinubu should resign. Areboshola, you failed as governor, minister. Presidency slams Areboshola there on the front page newspapers.
And still about ADC, Al Jazeera Midweek says ADC dares INEC, affirms Mark-led National Working Committee at convention. Nobody can litigate ADC into silence. Mark.
All right, the Observer's Times observes this morning with the 2027 as lead, to surrender is to yield to tyranny. David Mark vows ADC won't bow to APC's intimidation, calls on PDP, LP and other opposition leaders to form a united front for a patriotic rescue mission. But above that, you would also see their court grants El-Rufai bail as ICPC trial intensifies.
And from there, we'll go to the authority that is talking about insecurity. And it says bombings will stop after 2027 elections. That's Akpabio talking there. One of the writers says, alleges gang up against Tinubu.
All right, Daily Sun's also running with that. However, it just says insecurity, Akpabio fingers opposition, expresses optimism situation will end after 2027 polls. And that's on page 6.
And to Nigerian pilots, still on insecurity, it says 80,000 displaced in Plateau. One of the writers says reps worry over worsening humanitarian crisis in Plateau, says 80,000 persons displaced so far. That's on page 8 of Nigerian Pilot today.
All right, let's move to this Nigeria this morning. They're looking at terrorism here. Says SEC freezes assets of 13 persons on page 2, but the writer also says several individuals listed were convicted by Abu Dhabi court in 2019. Institutions that failed to comply risk severe punishment. And of course, the ADC is also looking at its trend below that picture story. ADC will not bow to political pressure. Mac.
And from there, we cross over to Daily Asset. It says Tinubu unveils new tax order, ends broken revenue system. The writer says colonial-era laws impoverishes Nigerians, says President. Vows fairer growth-driven framework on page 2.
All right, let's look at blueprint. First look at that unveiling of NRS corporate headquarters. Our revenue system will reward enterprise, support growth, and that's how the blueprint is leading this morning. That's, of course, coming from Tinubu. Links reform drive to rising reserves, investor confidence. But just above the masthead, you see a story on JAMB saying 2026 UTME, police deploy extra security at JAMB centers nationwide on page 10.
And to Nigerian News Direct, it says revenue collection surges by 322.6% to 28.7 trillion naira in 5 years as Tinubu unveils new NRS headquarters after 20 years of delay. That story is on page 3 of Nigerian News Direct this Wednesday morning.
Okay, and the Business Nigeria this morning looks at tax, says old tax laws made Nigerians poor. New system will create opportunities, prosperity, and that's coming from the president there as the lead. Impeachment rumors spark political tension in Oyo over Governor Makinde, and that's on page 2. With Naira weakens as forex inflows drop in March, CBN steps up dollar sales at the bottom page story.
And from there to Daily Global, it says Nigeria growing faster than US, UK, says presidency.
And the Daily Monitor looks at IMF downgrades Nigeria's 2026 growth outlook to 4.1 Says Middle East war, IMF downgrades Nigeria's 2026 growth outlook to 4.1%. Says oil price gains not enough to shield Nigeria's economy. And of course, you still see that story. Strong, transparent revenue structure, crucial to sustainable prosperity. The president, but ADC lands at the bottom page with ADC will not bow to political pressure, says Mark.
A New Telegraph says oil shock. Edun cautions Nigeria, others not to reverse reforms. You'll find that on pages 3 and 4 of New Telegraph this morning. And it's also mentioned on page 7 that insecurity, politically motivated, meant to distract Tinubu. That's Akpabio talking on page 7 of New Telegraph today.
All right, I think that's what we have as leads, and also you find them on the front page. And yes, let's move to our talking points. I think I'll start with the Yobo said this morning, Doc. Of course, the leads broke through Daybreak, Whistler, Leadership, Standard Times, and Al Jazeera. It says ADC cannot be litigated into silence, and that's David Mark.
Yeah, but I think ADC is very daring. I'm using the word deliberately because there have been deliberate and sustained effort, to cripple the political parties, just like some political forces did to the Labour Party, the SDP, and PDP. And because they see ADC as a strong, emerging opposition parties, and the forces who have been around, to ensure that we have a one-party system in Nigeria, are also making a deliberate and sustained effort to cripple the political parties. And I'm not mindful of the fact that there are cases in court to be resolved. And just yesterday, the Apex Court, the Supreme Court, fixed April 22 to give the final judgment on whether ANEC was right in removing the party from the from the portal. From the portal, and refused to recognize the leadership of the ADC. And the Supreme Court also assured that there will be they will fast-track the case. And for me, that is a cheering news. Because whether we like it or not, in democracy, opposition parties have their role. They have their role. And they put the ruling parties on their toes and ensure that at every point in time, when the ruling party is misbehaving, the opposition party keep on giving alternative views, alternative policies. And that's how democracy grew. Not just in Nigeria, around the world. So my advice is that nothing should be done to cripple opposition parties in Nigeria. And my fear, just like every Nigerian, is that the judiciary has become part of the problem we have in this country. I am not unmindful of the fact that ruling parties, apart from making attempt to grow their parties, they also make attempt to also, reduce the influence of their opponents. But whenever there's a disagreement in a democracy, people run to court and expect that the court will give a fair judgment. But when a judiciary becomes part or a unit of the executive arms of government, using them as a political tools, that money democratic space, then that is very worrisome. And I think every Nigerian should be worried about that. And Nigerians must be on the alert and not just, waiting for the military. Not just waiting for the judiciary to destroy the democratic space, but we must also resist any attempt. We are not members of a political party, but we are stakeholders in the democratic ecosystem. And when democracy is being undermined, every Nigerian should be worrying about it. Because at the end of the day, when they create the problem, it's not just going to affect only the ADC or the APC or the PDP. It will affect the entire country. And that's why we must show interest is what is happening in our political system and ensure that we don't allow these political forces, to destroy our democracy. No matter the imperfection of the democratic space that we have now, I think there's need for us to continue to push, for a better government, a better society. Because if we keep on doing that, you might think they're not listening to you. But one day they will listen to us. And that's why we must not give up in telling them certain things they are not doing right, and also commending them when they are doing the right thing. But I think we must keep on singing into their ears that we need a robust democratic space where every Nigerian who want to aspire to any political positions will have the opportunity to do that. The politics is not meant for political elite. And some of these people who are making all this noise now, they were in government yesterday, and you ask them, what did they do? Look at what he was saying yesterday. You know, of course, the man
as a result of 2027 elections.
Yes, you know, the man from what I've seen, I mean, what I've seen so far, I think he talked before he started reasoning, talked from both sides of his mouth, saying that, oh, the reason why we're having this insecurity is because there's a political gang up against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is not the first time we are seeing it. As a matter of fact, in every society, there will be deviant. And it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that such deviants, you know, are prosecuted in line with the rule of law. So, and that's why you have criminals in society. There's no societies anywhere in the world that is free of criminal activities. But it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that proper structures are put in place, you know, to deal with the matter. So this idea of giving excuse, the security institutions in Nigeria will cease to exist 3 days after general elections. For me, it's a very stupid talk, and nobody should entertain that.
Let's bring in Mr. Arif at this point. Well, the ADC was determined that no battalion could stop the convention. We understand their states talking about leadership and the validity of all of this. Well, INEC doesn't have to be present at their convention, but they have to receive their correspondences, which INEC says, we are not receiving anything from you. So where's the validity? Is this a wasted effort yesterday?
No, whether you like it or not, what ADC did yesterday was in contravention of the law. But again, it is a daring move, and they should be commended for that. One, they did that because if the Supreme Court say, no, I know what you did is wrong, they've done what they're supposed to do. So, first of all, if INEC came out and said, oh, don't do it, and they went ahead to do it, to me, I thumbed up for them. I look at the quality of people that came for the convention. These are men of yesterday. They were in power. You ask yourself, what did they do? What new thing are they bringing to the table? But coming in to act as a symbol of opposition at a period where hopelessness, where despair has almost enveloped most part of this country.
And resignation. And
resignation, of course. You discover that, honestly, they should be commended. All we can do now is to wait for the Supreme Court to bring up its verdict.
How about the Federal High Court that stopped the convention yesterday?
What?
The Federal High Court in Abuja.
Well, my friend here has said that I think the judiciary is becoming part of the problem. And I think that is the most unfortunate thing. Democracy is supposed to run on a tripod. The legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. But when there are all signals that the judiciary and the legislature are in bed with the executive, I think it becomes a worrisome issue.
For me, the Federal High Court judgment yesterday came after the convictions has been concluded.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure those guys were not served. So whoever went to court to obtain that black market orders is on his own. Because the conviction has already been completed before that court order came. So
it doesn't hold water?
Yeah, it doesn't hold water. I mean, I think that is... Let me tell you something. I think those who are in the judiciary should ensure that something is done about the judiciary. But I'm not surprised. When a minister, the executive arms of government, is busy building, houses worth billions of naira for judges, in a high-brand area in Federal Capital Territory, how do you, a judge that is staying in those houses, how do you expect them to give judgment against those who are paying them? I think that is the most unfortunate aspect of it. Just a few days ago, the president of the NBA, Mazi Osigwe, Afam Osigwe, yes, issued a very strong-worded press statement, warning the judiciary, the bench, about the implication of what they are doing to our democracy. Because at the end of the day, if there is problem, like I said, the judiciary will also suffer it. We saw what happened during the military era. They should go and find out those who were giving judgment against Nigerians. during the June 12 elections.
Let's just
they
quickly...
ended up, well, how did they ended up in a very bad situation.
Indeed.
So I think Nigerians should be very careful. The judges who are giving those black market injunction should be very careful because everybody is watching.
But Doc, let's quickly, because we're going to the next lead, which is on the Authority newspaper. But just to touch on it, maybe Mr. Simon, you take on this, because Observer Times came up on the screen just a few minutes ago saying 2027 to surrender is to yield to tyranny. Yeah. And that was coming from David Mark. Yeah. And one of the things he also said was the fact that they will not cower, they will not bow, they will not retreat, because this is not just about ADC, but about democracy. Yeah. How does this play on the psyche of Nigerians with the daring move from ADC yesterday?
Well, if you ask me that question, my response is, much as the psyche of Nigerians have seen a little bit of hope in what is coming from the ADC, but again, the question we ask, how far can it go in galvanizing Nigerians that are angry, that are not happy with what they see? See, even if you don't allow the ADC to go, to be registered at the end of the day, the David Mark to have a position of the ADC, there are other alternative platforms. You can always rally the people to stand for their right. Because in 2027, what will happen in 2027 is about the welfare of Nigeria and insecurity. Those are the big elephants in the room. And whether you like it or not, those are the issues. All this idea of bringing in ethnicity, religion, and what have you. No, they don't simply exist. Those are just the factors the ruling elite use to keep themselves in power.
Dr. Akpabio is saying bombings will stop after 2027 elections, and that's from the Authority newspaper.
It's very, very sad that we have someone like Akpabio as the Senate President.
Yeah.
That is very, very sad. Yeah. Because one, are you saying that we should simply surrender and raise our hands in hopelessness and say there's nothing that can be done? Yesterday, I was given some pictures, so horrible pictures. My friends here were talking at the backstage of what is happening, of how that young man was tortured. You now ask yourself, when you see this, you ask yourself, what if this was your son? What if this was your brother? What would you do? So for someone coming to tell us that insecurity will stop 2 weeks after election, honestly, that person is not...
What do you think informed that, Dr. Oliobosa? I'm just a bit curious. Is there something he knows, or is this a leading statement based on, perhaps, opposition?
I think the man is just being careless. You know, because I don't think none of the children are in Nigeria, so they don't feel the way we feel. You know, for example, when I saw that young man, the student of Unijust that was being tortured by terrorists, I wept like a baby. It could have been somebody's son. You know, and you begin to wonder what is happening. Let me tell you something. In our days as student union's leader, what happened in Unijust, after watching that video alone was enough for students to make this country ungovernable, using the terminologies of students in those days. That video alone was enough to make this country ungovernable on the part of the students. Because it was annoying, it was very traumatizing. In fact, something about that, I was traumatized when I watched that video. And somebody who called himself a senior president is there, you know, opened his dead, opened his dead, come on. Please. I think we should be very careful this morning. I don't want to be very emotional this morning, but I'm saying that we are Nigerians. We are Nigerians. I think we should be very sensitive about what is happening in our society.
But when you look at
the insecurity in this country is alarming. And there's no government, a serious government, that is responsible, that is responsive, will sit down and watch by allowing what is happening to our society to be happening. It is not done anywhere. The major responsibility of any government, whether at the federal, state level, local government level, is to protect lives and property. The fact that Nigerians are every day we now live in fear, we're given the impression that we don't have a government in this country. Yeah, is that true?
It's sad that we're living in fear. And looking that the targets are becoming senior military officers right now, it's so scary, to say the least. Adora was asking if you think that the Senate President knows something that we do not know. We remember the kidnappings of school children in Papiri, Niger State, when the NSA visited the principal and told us that they would return, but in batches, so be patient. And after that, they indeed returned in batches, as he says. So if Akpabio is saying that insecurity is because of elections masterminded by the opposition, and in 2 weeks after election, this will stop, is this not something, you know, a credible source, a reliable source, as we say in the media?
See, let me tell you, the politicians will always use insecurity for elections. In 2014, we were told, and we just Google, you will discover that one, certain people were brought in to make the country ungovernable if the APC did not win. And because we had a president who said, my ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian, he gave up and just allowed everything to go. Now, we're having politicians now that no matter what happens, they will always ensure they win election at all costs. And when you turn insecurity into a commercial venture, those people that are in it are reaping billions of naira. Some of the people that are recruited to stop it, they are also benefiting. Because whether you like it or not, the richest people we have in this country, corruption that is going on in this country, more is on the security sector. That is why when you say that a general is being killed, we've had 2 generals being killed. Even in the Nigerian Civil War, no general was killed. That's to tell you that we are fighting a war, we are witnessing a situation where citizens have been turned into soft targets. They are not there. They are not there. The military is not there. And because what about the equipment for the Nigerian soldiers or for the military? Do they have enough? We've yet to ask this question. So Akpabio said that because, you know, insecurity is spiking and many other things will follow. At the end of the day, if elections will hold, which I doubt if they will hold, because I'm in contact with people that are living in security war zone or so. See, there are towns you go, they've abandoned their villages and they've gone to the hills. And that is where they hide. And Nigerians, we are not saying anything.
They're thinking of conducting a digital.
You see, you are you cannot even have light. Power sector has practically collapsed. Buy data on any of this GSM thing. It don't work. I mean, things don't work. Things are going back. If, to tell you even how government itself has lost confidence in the power sector, is the presidential villa is no longer on the national grid. It's on solar. So what does it tell you?
You see,
it tells you that it is not, we don't believe in them. So if you don't believe in them, the problem with Nigeria is that we have leadership, not just with, they don't believe in Nigeria. They take Nigeria as a farmhouse, where they make their money, take their money out, and take their children and family out. But let me tell you, something drastic will happen someday. Because the way we are running this country is practically no way you will run a country and develop it.
You know, I think we should bring... Sorry to cut you.
Go ahead.
All right. I think we should bring in our viewers here from our YouTube Africa Independent TV. Emeka is saying that Emeka Okafor, 9022, says Akpabio should be ashamed of himself. Look at what a whole Senate president is saying. He has reduced himself to rice and beans by his word. Dio159 says Akpabio should be investigated by the security agencies. Adebanyo Francis is saying the same thing. He said Akpabio should be investigated in a sane country for saying the killings are political. So, yeah, those are some of the reactions coming to that.
These are just viewers' opinions, and we are going to probably apply discretion in expressing them. But Dr. Yubosa, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, you know, if you look at what is happening, now it is difficult not to argue that the security chiefs, including the Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you know, does not seem to understand the gravity of the problem we have at hand. When you have a national security advisors, you know, describing these bloodthirsty criminals as prodigal sons, then there's a problem.
And brothers.
Because in any problem, if you don't dissect, if you don't diagnose the problem, you will not be able to solve the problem. So the way they say this criminal, oh, they are prodigal sons, oh, they can afford to misbehave and come back, we'll accept them. For me, that is not a way to to solve the kind of problem we have in this country. These people, I'm talking about these terrorists, they've proved beyond reasonable doubt that they don't belong to this world. They don't. They don't belong to this our society. So if we actually see them as political sons, as echoed by the National Security Advisor, that is a problem. I think what the president needs to do, I'm talking about the Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is to come out with a clear instruction on how we should deal with our terrorists. There's no country, I keep on saying that, there's no country in the world where security chiefs, go to bed with terrorists or in the name of the kinetic approach. How do you pampers, how do you rehabilitate people who have killed thousands of innocent blood? I mean, innocent in this country, and you say you want to rehabilitate them? What is it done in the entire world?
Dr. Hibos, I just hope, maybe... INEC chairman over victory. Now, I'm just thinking about it because the Senate president is like the bastion of the parliament.
Yes, exactly.
The torchbearer, right?
He's the chairman of the National Assembly.
So that statement in itself, does it not speak more to deeper issues of the role of the parliament and how they see the fight against insecurity? It's not just a mere statement.
Dora, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. I mean, he's trying to give the impression that, the reason why we're having this insecurity is because some people don't want the success of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Don't forget that the same character who are in government now, in 2024 general elections, when there was growing insecurity ahead of 2023 general election, when President Goodluck Jonathan was in government, the same president today described then Jonathan as clueless, a drunken fisherman who does not have the capacity to even, manage his home, not talk of the entire country. They weaponize that. They weaponize insecurity against President Goodluck Jonathan. People who are in government now are the same people who weaponize insecurity against President Goodluck Jonathan. And at the end of the day, what happened? They give the impression that Jonathan is actually clueless, and he has no business being in government, and that they were going to bring a retired general, a no-nonsense man, then President Buhari, may so rest in peace. Buhari came for 8 years. The insecurity in this country became worse, and today, the same people are complaining that people are weaponizing security against them.
Okay.
You see the irony of the whole thing. So my point is that there will be deviant in any society, and it is the responsibility of the security agencies and the commander-in-chief to stop that. So we're no longer campaigning. We're not in the campaign era, even though another campaign will start this time around. But he has a mandate. Yes, he has a mandate. He has a mandate. So he has a mandate of 4 years. He promised Nigerians so many things, that he will fix the light within 6 months, and if he could not fix it, Nigerians should vote him out. He promised to deal with the issue of insecurity. He promised to deal with the issue of economy. Promised to deal with the issue of so many things. So he should go ahead and fulfill those promises, rather than giving an excuse that Nigerians are against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nobody's ready for that kind of a stupid excuse. Nobody.
Then I just want to add to what he said. When the legislature has been subsumed, the National Assembly has been subsumed under the presidency. It's more like an extension of the presidency. There's nothing.
Not just the National Assembly, even the judiciary.
Well, we're just talking about that. You discover that we don't expect anything. Personally, I don't have any hope on our legislature as it stands and led by Akpabio. Because one, all what is happening, the insecurity, everything, have they come out and say, how do we go in tackling this issue? They can't even go to their constituencies. Most of them simply go abroad. They come to Abuja, stay where security.
And we'll not forget the one from Kogi State, who says he could not go home because of bad
Yes,
roads.
and once they venture out of the nation's capital, what they see, the convoy of security that will follow them. And this same government has told us that have withdrawn security from VIPs. You now ask yourself, what type of democracy are we practicing?
Even if VIP, look at this guy they are using against ADC now. Is it Gambo?
You now discover. You now discover that the National Assembly is not the National Assembly that ought to be seen and act. And that is why Akpabio, people like him, can continue to say anything they want to say.
Well, the secretary of the ADC has
said, for example,
had said that, the renewed hope agenda is a scam. So it is not left for the government to prove them wrong by doing what they ought to do and making sure that security counts.
I agree with you. I was going to say that. Look at this. You're talking about VIPs withdrawing.
We have to go now because of the time, and our guest is already in the studio, so we'll probably just have to have this conversation backstage and continue the in-between the lines. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you
for coming on the newspaper review this morning. And we are going to be talking about ADC's convention after this short break because our guest is in the studio, but that will be after now. Stay with us.
Issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our government seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Ask him where is the law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of
For the former president, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card.
Has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. live on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel at AIT Live.
My name is Adora Sidney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda. Women rising.
All right, everyone, welcome back and thank you so much for being there. From that, we cross over to our first conversation this morning, which will be to look at the happenings at the ADC conference or convention yesterday in Abuja. We did mention when the show started that indeed, after all the cries, the bickerings, the intrigues, the Nigeria's opposition, African Democratic Congress finally held its national convention in Abuja yesterday, and some statement coming out from there from the national National Chairman David Mark is saying that National Movement for Redemption is what this is, and he also faulted the Joash Amupitan-led INEC for withdrawing its recognition of the coalition. So I want to look at that from the lenses of Dr. Moses Paul this morning, the chairmanship candidate, ADC, of course, for the Abuja Municipal Area Council in the FCT Council election held earlier this year in Abuja. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
As always.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So perhaps we'll start from the beginning for you to give us like a background on the convention and what transpired yesterday.
Yesterday was the whole nation, found hope again, because against everything, almost like African magic, almost like, the kinds of things we watch, unbelievable magic going on where the pressure to ensure that the convention does not hold. I mean, public institutions that were rightly written and, almost unbelievable. We're talking about public venues and halls completely denied, and you move from there. Private event centers are now honked down, and you hear it very clearly. We are told that from the office of the minister that if we do this, they are going to demolish our structure, they're going to withdraw our licenses. And it didn't just start yesterday. Even for me, when I ran for the office of the chairman, I remember writing, and the letters are there, to use the old parade ground. And a director there told me, no, it's not going to happen. The minister is not going to see it, even with all the payments and stuff done. So it's African magic. It's like one wind just fell down, So this is what you see and you hear these things, but I'm right in the middle of it. But yesterday, against the pressure, against all odds, the African Democratic Congress went ahead, held her convention. I mean, and you could see the joy, you could see the fun, you could see hope rising again, the whole, event center was, bubbling and, the fun. So for me, that's what Nigeria needs, especially at the point like this where people are dying every day, people are hungry, all kinds of things. You don't even know where the next meal is going to come from. You're not sure of what's going to happen tomorrow. For that to happen, it's not just a political statement. It's a big hope, for the nation. So that's what you had, and you had all the people traveling from Lagos, Katsina, Kano, Maiduguri, Abuja people, they all came together. Over 3,000 delegates endorsed, and because it's symbolic and significance, given, the different government brouhaha going on in the name of factionalization, so all that was cleared up yesterday with the endorsement of the David Mark-led,
So people who have spoken about this, call them experts or analysts who have said this, they have argued that this came with a very heavy ill wind, the convention. However, it went ahead and it held. Besides the problems with securing a venue, both government and private, is there anything else you would like to share with us, or would you say that everything went according to plan?
Like I said, the David Mark leadership was endorsed with over 3,000 delegates. The constitutional review, was adopted. And then, of course, everything went according to plan. People came in from far and near, and, you could see a rekindling of hope in the lives of people again, because we have entered a very crazy season, worse than the Abacha era in the Nigerian system right now where we stand, where people are visibly afraid. They can't even speak because they don't know. I think the only thing left to happen in this regime right now is for opposition voices to begin to disappear. That's the only thing that we haven't seen. But every other thing that can be, thought about is already happening, So, like I said, everything went according to plan, in terms of the sequence of events, in terms of renditions, people who spoke, and all the, every item that was set to be achieved was achieved yesterday, and that's a big and a huge success. Not just, because it wasn't just a gathering for ADC as a political party. It was a gathering of hope. It was a gathering of the Nigerian people, the hungry people, the concerned Nigerian. That was what yesterday was about, so... Yeah.
All right, so let's look at, I mean, some of our lead stories on the front pages of newspapers actually gave clarifications on the call by the ADC yesterday. For instance, ADC cannot be litigated into silence. And that was by the party chairman, David Mark. And Areboshola, the secretary, also talked about the fact that the role of INEC is mandatory and not discretionary.
That's right.
Now, you look at the two conversations. One, we cannot be litigated into silence. Areboshola saying it is INEC's role as a mandatory commission to be present and not discretionary based on the rule of the president or the powers that be. Now, where do you see the challenge in this? Do you think that with the role or the body language as deduced by the ADC of INEC, that this roadmap of ADC to the 2027 election is cast in stone?
I mean, one thing is clear. Yesterday, ADC showed that, number one, they have the capacity, the organizational capacity and readiness to deal and face the 2027 general election. But you could also see, the whole world can see what's going on. So I obviously, agree with that statement, because there are no factions in the ADC, obviously. It's just that right now, INEC has become a tool, a machine for the government, which is very...
So there's no the Dumebi Kachuku faction, there's no the Nafia Balak faction?
All of that is just government machineries. I can tell you that because I know. All of that is just government machineries. The government is determined. I mean, one of the leaders of this present regime has said that we are government, you are opposition, and we will take advantage of anything we see. We will pay anybody, we will do anything just to ensure that we destabilize opposition. And they are using the justice system, sadly. They are using the INEC. They are using institutions that are supposed to be independent. INEC is now the one speaking on behalf of the government and telling us why and how things should be. I mean, isn't that... That's why I said it's African magic. This is where we have descended to, in the Nigerian system. So this is going to be Nigerians versus the Tinubu-led administration.
All right. So you spoke about having no factions in the ADC, and we understand that at least we have up to 3 factions right now. We have the Nafiu Balagombe, who has been the top. We have your own, that Nafiu would also say it's a faction. And then recently, the latest being the Dumebi Kachuku, the 2023 presidential candidate of the party, having this aggrieved state chairman. One highlight from the convention yesterday was the suspension of Balagombe. What would you say he did? And also, the Leke Abejide, people would say that as Wike is to PDP, so is Leke Abejide to the ADC in terms of funding. Why did you suspend them?
Well, the party has to play and has to attend to procedural issues to measure up to perception and what's going on. But again, it's not something I really want to talk about, or, because it's clear to everybody. You can see how the Labour Party was completely decimated, People were implanted, That happened. Of course, you can see what's going with the charade with the PDP, I mean, this was the ruling party that took and held Nigeria for 16 years. You can see what's going on.
But do you think those suspension will solve all the maths in the ADC right now?
I don't think so. In fact, what I expect more. You're going to see up to 20 to 30 different factions because money is working. Poverty has been weaponized. People do not know how they're going to get their next meal. They don't know what's going to happen to their children. They are uncertain about what tomorrow holds. And for a government that has weaponized everything, what do you expect? You're going to even have up to 100, maybe 3,000 different factions, in the ADCs because money talks. He's one of the leaders of the present regime that says that what money cannot do, more money can do. So more money are going to roll out.
Who are you quoting?
I mean, I think the Senate President, Akpabio, said that. He said, what money cannot do, more money can do. And, so it's a decimation and the value system is completely removed. The danger with this administration is that they are not only, it's not only that we have insecurity, we have corruption, we have all kinds of things. It's the fact that they are destroying the value system. You know, where the law becomes a tool for government machinery, then at that point, is almost, we have become what? This is anarchy. This is worse than the military regime. Because you're saying that, for example, right now, you can't even challenge anybody in court that has forged certificate. So we are at a very dangerous precipice in our nation's history. It is so, I don't even know, because the framework upon which anything can be done is completely removed. Nigerians has to wake up. This is beyond politics. I'm not doing politics here. This is our life. This has to do, you see, when the fabric of what is required to even hold a community, a nation, is removed, at that point, we do not have a nation.
All right, so now let's look at some members of the APC and the accusation of course, the swipes that have been taken at the opposition. There were swipes taken at the APC during the convention as well on the fact that, I mean, some mentioned, the secretary said that the renewed hope agenda is a scam. And, you know, we should be careful of kakistocracy. In the end, you know, leadership by the unintelligent few. Now, there are also those who know that some members of the key stakeholders in the ADC were once political office holders in the APC and were at the leadership helm. Questions are, what did you do when you were in the APC? Were you not also accused of corruption when you were in the APC? Do you not seem to think that some Nigerians who say that the ADC as a political party is only a transmission vehicle for old politicians from the APC to achieve, you know, self-entitled power? How do we look at that? Because whether you like it or not, you're speaking to Nigerians who are more aware, who are doing their research, who are backgrounding, and positioning the conversation of what was and what is, and who did what when, and who is doing what now, who will do what tomorrow. How do you look at that narrative? Isn't it something for the ADC to also look at and make some introspection about? Because when you're going to go into the 2027 election, Nigerians are looking at what you will present as your best foot forward.
You know, everything is in context and everything is in sequence. You can't put, it has to be first things first. Where we are right now in the country, while I'm not saying that what you're saying is not true, what is the most important? What is important will always be important. What is urgent is the matter at hand. So while what you're saying is important, it is not what will be dealt with right now. Your house is on fire. That is not the time to say that, oh, your neighbor that you quarreled with yesterday is coming to help you. No, you need to get out of this fire because right now you are going to die. That is the situation at hand right now. So we have to deal with issues. I mean, Nigerians are dying. People cannot even eat. Coming to the studio, people can't even go to work. This is the level of what we're talking about. Dissenting voices are being honked down. We're talking about people getting petty to the point of saying that if you give out that place, we're going to come and demolish it. We've gotten to animal kingdom level. So, are we going to be discussing anybody that can jump into this? This is Noah's Ark, you know, rendition. Everybody come into this ark. What is important right now is our survival. When we survive and we get to the other point, then we can begin to look at and say, now come, now you be, right now, that's not what to be discussed.
So you're saying that it's irrelevant to look at the posturing of character and value?
It's because we're sinking as a nation. And this is really because for a matter of life and death, I don't know how we're going to be looking at that right now, you know, and this is what it is. And like I said, for me, this is not politics. This is survival. This is about democracy. This is about unity of purpose. This is about moving our nation forward. Let's get past this stage, then we can deal with the other issues.
Okay, so I hear you, and I can take that context from you independently because I saw your elections and some of your campaigns and your mandate. But the broader picture is the fact that Nigeria is central to African and global politics. We did see some consulars, come for the convention. The Chinese embassy, the British, government was there, and some other people who deliberately sent, representations to be able to monitor and saw what happened. But again, on the backdrop, when you look at global conversations on Nigeria's role in African politics, Benin went into their presidential election and just announced a new president.
Yeah.
And, they're looking to Nigeria for direction, and everybody's optics are on the 2027 election.
Absolutely.
Now, why I'm asking this question is because, they say, you do not throw the baby and the bathwater away. However, there is a bathwater, there's a baby.
Absolutely.
Indeed. How do we also look at genuine, the genuineness, deliberate? Because I hear you, but then people would also argue that, are these not also people who perhaps, when we look at the backdrop of the conversation on who wants to be president, who wants to be vice president, are also looking at using this as a vehicular, opportunity to amplify the ambition? Because one thing, why I'm saying this is that the Nigerian sensibility is fixated on the fact that we need to survive. But then who frontlines this survival is also critical at the end game. Isn't it something that while you were looking at the survival of Nigerians, you're also looking at the survival of the objective of the party at the end of the day?
No, absolutely true. But you can see, I don't think at this point you can fault, the key actors that are there. And I would agree with you because for posterity, I'm very careful what I say because, like I said, if 10,000 people, if 20,000 people come out, to say that we're voting for you, in what happened in the local council election, and people have said that that has never been seen in the history of Nigeria, where, particularly AMAC was being exposed. It means that they've gone beyond political party to saying that we see hope in this person.
Absolutely.
We can trust, we can depend. So I know that what I say does matter. And I'm not taking lightly what you're saying at all, and this question is very important for the ADC, the people that frontline, what is happening. What you cannot remove is self-interest and ambition of people, and of course you have to allow for people's ambition.
Absolutely.
But within the mix, I believe that the ADC is there. When you look at even ideologically, the framework, the constitution, and even the brains behind this, then you have to give it some kudos. But again, what I cannot remove is the fact that in the sequence of things, we will deal with things, when those times come. Like the Benin example, that you gave, the time has come where the credibility, the outcome of the convention, of what will happen with the ADC in terms of who they present as the leading key figures, is going to speak, and Nigerians are going to see, because we are at a time where we need energetic people, we need brainwave people, we need people who truly can match the energy, because Nigeria is very energetic as a nation, very young as a nation. The people, the bandits, all these people, they are very young. The criminal gangs that are, messing us up, they are very young. So they need a president, they need a leader that can match that energy. And if the ADC does not present that, then that's going to be a problem for her. I'm not going to sit here and say that I would just support anything that the ADC is going to do. It do not bring out credible, somebody who can unite the nation, particularly at this point.
Let's look at more issues on the recognition of the leadership of all factions by the INEC, of ADC leadership. I know that the chairman, the national chairman, David Mark, senator, he had said yesterday that it's a direct assault on democracy. I'm talking to the Joash Amopiton-led INEC for withdrawing the recognition. What is the next step for you, the party, as a party right now? Because as far as INEC is concerned, ADC is headless right now. What are your next steps?
No, that's what the government of the day is saying to all opposition. And you see, that is a danger. And I will not jump the gun and run away from it, because right now, ADC, we're in a game. But INEC is wearing APC's jersey. This is what you are seeing. INEC is now a player. INEC is playing. Before the game starts, you are seeing your referee wearing jersey. So it's very dangerous. What are you going to do if you see that your referee is wearing a jersey? Of course, you're not going to say you're not going to play the game. You continue to play the game and see where it's going to lead. So if you're asking me what we're going to do, we're already playing the game. We're going to be in the game. You know, it's just that politically and humanly speaking, this is just beyond, I'm just using the analogy of a game. You know, what this administration should not do is to take the Nigerian people for granted. What it should not do is to take the weaponization of institutions and poverty for granted, because what they're going to face, and I mean, right now, for what they've done, they've elevated the ADC, because ADC has been discussed across the globe right now, and that's why I said, against all, you needed to be at the convention ground yesterday to see.
And we had one of your big men yesterday, Oyegun, says APC, in a clip that has gone viral. He wanted to say ADC, and then he went, so maybe we have APC-DC now, just like we had PGAPC the other time.
I think, I mean, just as, how do I put it now? Just in terms of just making a light of the show, it's APC, ADC, you know, so these are the two players. No, it does happen, and I think it happens to all of us, and that's okay.
And with the call from the chairman that, you know, you want more political party to come into the coalition, the
Absolutely.
PDP, the Labour, the YPP.
They're all there, and I can tell you, because it's a coalition, it's not easy. So you are seeing somebody that you were fighting with yesterday, but now he's here. You know, you walk into that convention, sometimes you're a bit confused if you're not, you know, you're looking at everybody from the Labour Party, from the PDP, from the NMPP, you know, you're seeing people, even some chieftains of the APC are now in the ADC. I mean, I had a couple of them even from the Southwest who came in, who are serving even in the House currently. You know, they're all coming in because what we're announcing, that's why I said it's more than just an ADC gathering. The ADC has become a coalition for Nigerians. It has become a coalition for the suffering masses. It has become a face for the suppressed, submerged, weaponized Nigerians. That's what makes it beautiful. And that's why I think the present regime should be very, very careful.
Okay. Yes, talking about being careful, I think I would also want to ask, you know, what your next line of action is, and with carefulness in mind. I take this from what transpired again in the Benin presidential election on Sunday. Now, Patrice Talon had already been told, you know, was said to have, footed the idea of the finance minister who now won the election, Roman Wagadani. And before that happened, the opposition parties were carefully removed, denied, conscripted by some members within the party, what they call the betrayers, and denied from running in the election. And so you already, what you saw was already a one-party state going to an election, which, of course, had that emergence. Now, there was an outcry by the citizens, I mean, of over 14.5 million people saying that this was not an election, this was an anointing. Do you fear that African politics, especially across the sub-West African region, is slowly degenerating, and that Nigeria now has the opportunity to rework that imagery? How are you going to do that, considering that you have the power of incumbency, that the institutions of government are under that incumbency, and that whatever you do, you also have the issue of those on seat versus those who want to run?
It's a paradox. So on one hand, because as a student of history and one who is very Pan-African, who also is Pan-Nigerian, who is an irredentist on the salvation and the hope, because I know that Nigeria is going to be okay, last. I know that. It's not even something to, I'm at peace with that. I know that, you know, given what I see every day as I interact with people. However, the fear is the delay in having this come up, because as I travel around the world, as I travel around Nigeria and Africa, we see these things interplaying. And it's sad, Adora, because again, Nigeria has this, it's almost like a very big opportunity that it has, because whatever we're seeing right now in Africa is a reflection of what's happening in Nigeria, you know, and Then when you see pockets of what happens like in Benin, in Rwanda, in some other places, it's now, you feel very sad because like this big brother that has become, you know, with lack of a better word, just useless. You know, you're not doing anything. All the younger brothers are just passing and, you know. So this is why, again, Nigerians should not give up. Young politicians like myself and like yourself and many other people across board should never give up. We must continue because, I'll tell you very clearly, nation building, leadership, critical stakeholders of nation formation, all those rhetoric that we spew, they are nothing if active citizens do not get into politics. They say politics is nyama is what I've seen in the last 1 year is enough for me to carry my 2 daughters and get out of the country. But guess what? We ain't going nowhere. Because if we move, then we allow, can't we have a president like Dr. Mo, who can talk and challenge? I sat down with Paul Kagame for 2 hours and he was, you know, go to Indonesia, sit down with ministers and they're like, I sit down in Mayfair in the UK and they're asking me, are you running for the president of Nigeria? And I'm like, don't take my eloquence and my ability to be able to analyze things. I do not exist in the equation of things where Nigeria is concerned. Why? And I'm saying that we should never give up. That's the way forward. Young Nigerians should never. Because what the status quo tries to do is to ensure that voices like mine are decimated, never see the light of day. And there are many of those kinds of people. We actually outnumber them. We can run them down, actually. This is what we must continue to do, from State of House of Assembly to chairmanship to every political position, including the presidency. We must continue to fight. And I want Nigerians to get this because with hindsight, with my election, I went to a place called Kubo to go and talk to them. I went everywhere. And Adora, to shock you, when I was campaigning, they now said, Ogamo, we believe you. We think that this is possible, but we don't vex. We don't tear our voters' card away. 70% of us. That's what happens to Nigeria. We give up too easily. It took over 80 years of struggle and working before Mandela became president. He wasn't even the one that began the ANC movement. It took over 80 years before Martin Luther King was killed. Martin Luther King was not even 40 years old. So I'm saying to Nigerians, in that context and in that light, and looking at Africa vis-a-vis Nigeria, we're still very young. I am certain for us to have even come this far, for the ADC to hold our convention yesterday, when I say against all odds, chaining of event centers, it tells you one thing. The light of Nigeria is just beside the corner. Right. Young people should never give up because we'll continue to push and we will get there.
We're still talking about the plan and the way forward. We understand that yesterday the Federal High Court in Abuja ruled that, just to mention that Kakaaki Social is still in the pipeline, so we're going to have it subsequently on the program. Thank you so much for holding on. As I was saying, the plan forward, the next step going forward. We understand that the Federal High Court in Abuja says that that convention should not hold, which was yesterday. The ruling came out. But as our reviewer said during newspaper review, maybe it doesn't really hold water because it cannot. That was a late ruling, as they put it. But the Supreme Court has said that on the leadership of the ADC, they would decide on that on April 22nd. But my question now is, what do you say you would be doing with your correspondences from this? We understand that, well, it's not mandatory for INEC to be present at your meetings and your convention, congresses across state, but they have to receive the communique, your correspondences. And INEC has said that we are not receiving anything from anybody as far as the ADC is concerned. So are you going to file your communique and your correspondences to yourself? What would you do with them?
We will continue to file. That is a blatant early morning lies by the INEC, by this president, by the APC INEC. They will keep lying and all of that. They're not going to stop in any case. In any case, what we are seeing right now is, I think we are just in the fringes of the plans that they have, because at the end of the day, what they want to do is to make sure they deregister ADC and remove the present regime just want a very weak opposition so that they can have a coronation. That's what they want. So you're going to hear things like that. One thing is certain, and I can tell you, David Mark, Arebushola, and the leaders of the ADC are very serious people. Every correspondence will be met with timelines and everything. And if you need that, provisions will be made for that. The world can see it. That's why you saw Arebushola raising one of the letters to the INEC yesterday. Every documentation is there. The ADC is a very serious, party. All the correspondence are going to go on. We're going to continue to do what we must do in terms of procedural, sequence, whether to the government, whether to the INEC, whether to the judiciary. But at this point in time, it's inconsequential, even whatever any court system says, because for a court system that is a Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led system, that is the government of the day, it's inconsequential anything that INEC says. When I say these things, I say it very measured, because this regime should be very, I call it regime because it wasn't the Abacha era-led regime. They should be very careful. You are pushing against the will of the people. The will of the people will always be greater than the people in power. How many people are in power? I have seen anarchy in my lifetime. They should not push the people. They should stop this shenanigans, this thing they are talking about. They should stop it. It is in the interest of the government of the day that opposition should work. We saw Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua say, INEC, do the right thing. If you have 32 governors, you have INEC, you have everything, and you are still afraid. Come on, what's going on with these people? I mean, we should stop this kind of nonsense discussion. I beg. They did not submit. What are we talking about? Are we talking to children?
So who is going to play umpire over your elections?
I told you something here, graphically. You get into a football field, and your referee is wearing the jersey of your opponent. That's what is happening. So yes, the government of the day is the umpire. Nigerians are there. The question is not to me. It's like, I don't know, I was asked, when I said that in AMAC, you cannot write results here. You cannot do this here. And the people are mistaken. The joke is not on me. So somebody will say, I'm saying to you that you cannot steal this biscuit. Right now we're here, the whole world is watching. You can't steal this biscuit. And we are right here, and you
still take the biscuit.
The joke is not on me. You have told the whole world that you are a rigger, you are a thief, you are a criminal. You are telling the whole world. So I think that what
you said, Dr. Mo, what you said at the time was FCT is not River State where election results are written. In fact, as soon as we got to the studio, someone dropped on our YouTube channel at Africa Independent TV, the boy that says Wike is a nobody. So if you want to take us back, maybe you should say it in full as well.
I didn't say Wike is the...
Yeah, you didn't mention Wike at the time, but you said we don't write results in
FCT
as we do in River State.
Yes, I needed to just correct the impression. I have the highest regard and honor for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's the president of Nigeria. We shouldn't make light of that office.
Absolutely.
And I would never, and I will say it here, for what Wike is doing in the FCT, Honorable Minister, Barrister, Nyesom Wike, I have the highest regard for him. I don't have regard for charlatans, for people who disregard the law. If you're a president and you go against Nigerian law, you're an enemy of Nigeria. If Wike rewrites results, he is an enemy of Nigeria, I will say it. I respect him, I respect the office. But if he rewrites results here, he's a criminal. I'm not afraid you will even see how they will turn this, what we are saying now. Tomorrow they'll say, he says that. But the joke, if Wike truly wrote results here, he's a criminal. And you must understand, while I respect and I have regard for him, he does not remove anybody that discredits, that goes against the Constitution. You are spending billions. Vote buying is criminality. You can't be spending money and buying votes. You put a curfew the day before election. Oh, come on.
All right, so let's see. The ADC announced a 50-member committee to formulate the party policy and manifesto, I think sometime on the 28th of January, to sort of give a roadmap on where they would take Nigerians to. Again, we would really love to see if there is any progress with that policy outcome and direction. And then secondly, Abdullahi, who is the spokesperson of the ADCs, spoke on March 8th. I don't know whether that was in view of International Women's Day, that 40% enough positions will be reserved for women within the ADC. But at the convention, you know, hopefully, I was skating and looking in between the crowd to see the heads of all the many women, perhaps 50% in view and 50% of the men. Is the ADC gender sensitive? Are they looking at inclusion as part of their objective come 2027?
Absolutely. I can tell you as one who is also working even within the FCT, you know, from the polling units level to the ward level to the state level, ADC is highly sensitive where women are concerned. In fact, I think to some point we are being blackmailed, you know. You can't even talk. Anything you want to say, they say you. In every office, in every position, you know, that balance has been done. And I can tell you, I give kudos to the ADC for adhering to those policies.
All right. I think that's where we'll draw the curtain this morning. It's been quite an extended, insightful, revigorating conversation with Dr. Moses Paul here, ADC stalwart chairmanship candidate in Abuja Municipal Area Council in the FCT elections. And he says if you rig elections, whether you have a public office or whether you occupy the highest position, you are a criminal. Do not rig against the Nigerian people. Quoted?
Absolutely.
Great. All right, we'll take a quick break and then the show continues in earnest. To stay with us.
The issues as they break. The political figure. State, non-state actor.
A serious threat to democracy.
Our government seem to be incapable of
scheming. No.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Ask him where is the law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of for the former president, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
My baba, they always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala.
It's coming out.
Sometimes people go on scam you. But Baba say, no be by gra. You must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My baba remember OPay USSD lock. That's star 955 star 131 hash. Baba press lock account.
Family entertainment fans, get ready for something big because StarTimes is giving you over Jara. For a limited time, when you recharge for 2 months, you get upgraded to the next bouquet free. That's more sports, more movies, more kids shows, more entertainment at no extra cost. Over Jara. Start Times. Enjoy digital life.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. live on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel at AIT Live.
My name is Adora Sidney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda. Women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics, and Power with Imoni Amarere.
The low-performing agencies be held to account, or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT.
Thank you for staying with us. And of course, from our conversation on politics, we go to health. And this time, we're talking about cancer awareness.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to the conversations we have today because we're looking at fake cancer stories with a case study of Blessing CEO, Blessing Okoro, who came out just on day one of announcing her cancer. She was already on stage 4. Shaving hair, no chemo, no biopsy, no whatever. Nurses and doctors are asking her, how did they do it? Did they use a needle to press anywhere? He said, and she has raised money.
Over 100 million.
When you cry wolf, so how exactly are we going to be able to help people who indeed are suffering from this? So I'm looking forward to the insight from our guest and host today, of course, the CEO of Common Cancer Foundation, Dr. Dennis Ejo, who will be joined with our guest. Good morning, Doctor.
And over to you.
Good morning, ladies. We can't see you. It's very interesting. I like the way you introduced it. Very interesting. Hope you guys are good. Good morning, viewers. Welcome to another edition of our Rising Day. Welcome to another edition of Common Cancer Awareness with Dr. Denise Ejo in partnership with AIT. I am Dr. Denise Ejo. In the past few days, weeks, many Nigerians have followed the unfolding Blessing CEO saga. A story that stirred sympathy, raised questions, and has now left many feeling confused and betrayed. But today we must look beyond the headlines. Because while the nation debates one story, thousands of real cancer patients are quietly fighting for their lives, wondering if their own truth will now be doubted, their voices questioned, and their chances of survival diminished. This is not just about the scandal. This is about the cost of dishonesty and who pays the price. So, joining me this morning is someone who's very special to me, who understands this reality, not from headlines, but from lived experience and daily engagement with patients. My co-advocate, my one and only, my 9 years and still, you are 8 years and still running. So
9 years.
9 years, and mine is 10 years, yes, and we're still running. And maybe we will educate Nigerians about this nonsense. Hello, Gloria, how are you?
I'm fine. Hello, Dr. Denise.
With this your board, you're fine. Thank you for agreeing to come on board so that Nigerians can know that we still get swag with our board.
Yes, so.
How are you?
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here. How are you doing?
I'll introduce you properly now.
Okay.
Gloria, who is the Vice President of the NEPC, Network of People Impacted by Cancer in Nigeria, and the President of the Gloria Foundation. Gloria, I really love you. Thank you very much. And let's start this conversation so that we can use our time very well. So, Gloria, in light of this recent Blessing CEO controversy, which to those out there not knowing, both Gloria and I are actually people living with cancer. Gloria is 9 years running, and I am 10 years running. Where a false cancer claim drew massive public attention and sympathy, what is the immediate emotional impact on real patients who are genuinely battling this cancer or watching? Or rather, can you explain to the world what our real emotional impacts are, especially as we battle this disease and then watch such nonsense blow out in... I don't know what to say. I really don't want to say how to describe it. Go on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Denise. I'm really happy to speak on this topic because I followed this conversation from day one. I was so keen. Like you asked, the emotional impact on cancer patients is quite profound. If you are having a bad day and you go to the internet and see a Blessing CEO crying and shaving her hair, if you are having a good day, rather, you are likely to have a bad day for the rest of that day, because we always said that we would not wish cancer on even our enemies.
Yeah.
And so when you see somebody has cancer, you are scared that they are coming to go through what you're going through. Mm-hmm. Personally, I think I'm a handful for my family and friends going through cancer. So I don't want anyone I know again to be, sometimes, honestly, I feel like a burden to people, and I don't want someone that I know to be going through that phase to have anything to do with cancer. So when I hear someone has just even a lump, I panic, I become anxious, I become worried for them until they say, oh, it's clear, and then I'm happy, or they say, oh, it's cancer, and then I move to the next phase where I prepare to guide them on the journey. And that is how it happens to many patients. So I can tell that many patients said in the comments, some of them were crying. They said, oh, this is very bad. We don't want this to happen to Blessings. Patients cried. People went into actual panic attacks. It reminded some patients, of the trauma of their own diagnosis. Coming online to say that kind of thing, you're likely to remember the day you were also told and how it made you feel. So it's going to trigger traumatic experiences. It's going to launch you into fear, panic attacks, anxiety, which is not even good for a cancer patient, whether you're undergoing treatment or not. Stress, fear, anxiety are things we are advised to to handle. And it's going to, for those of us that, for some people, it could even launch them into depression. You don't know the extent these kind of things can actually take people to. For those of us who seem to have the mental stamina to guide other people, after a while, you start asking yourself, how do I help? Yes, but that empathy is always the first thing it does to you, then some kind of traumatic response, and then you might want to help if you have the strength to help. I personally sent her an open letter, even though I saw all the discrepancies in her story. I chose to believe that she was scared and confused from the diagnosis. I chose to believe that, even though I saw all the loopholes in the story. I sent her an open letter telling her, we are here. Be sure that this diagnosis is right so you don't make mistakes. I left that small window of belief somewhere that she's telling the truth and she just needs to be guided. So it's quite an insult to every cancer patient, to our intelligence, to what we are going through with what she did. It's almost unforgivable. Let me use that word.
Yes, I agree with you. I think a lot of people do not realize the pain we go through. And for some of us that have to come out and actually say that we have the disease in light of stigmatization, and somebody thinks it's a joke, was actually, cancer is already a very lonely journey. And I don't know. I really am trying to I've not been able to get my head around it, which is why I thought, you know what, let's just address this thing. Okay, so now, you mentioned something. Oh, no, we were introduced to something. We saw reports that significant funds were raised during this situation. My God. From your experience, how does this kind of alleged fraudulent fundraising affect public willingness to support real cancer patients who genuinely need help to survive? And I want us to think this because you and I know, me and you, both of us are advocates. Both of us beg so try to find ways to raise funds for other cancer patients. And somebody did this when we are not even found to be worth raising money. We cancer patient advocates can't even raise money more than 500,000, 1 million. And we are the ones that are finding the money for the cancer patients directly. Yet, the amount of over 100 million raised for somebody was lying. Just is my challenge. What happened?
Okay, I think because, first of all, I'll talk about the impacts on the cancer community, on the genuine cancer community. It's going to cause sympathy fatigue, where people start, it's going to tamper with the kind of sympathy. People get a lot of sympathy for having cancer because nearly everyone I know has been impacted. A colleague, a brother, your mother, your father. So people have experienced cancer in different ways and have a lot of sympathy for cancer patients. And this is going to cause sympathy fatigue for them. It's going to reinforce the stigma on cancer patients as well, because people are going to say, oh, they lie for these things. They exaggerate to seek attention. Some people still don't believe that a cancer patient can take a medication worth 2 million in a month. Some still struggle to believe that. Yes, when you tell them, they think you're exaggerating the amount so that you have money to buy shoe and hair. But sometimes that is the reality. So when these kind of things happen, it's going to reinforce that stigma that people exaggerate their cancer experiences for sympathy. It's going to put cancer patients under unhealthy scrutiny that might be dehumanizing. Because people want to search you through and through to be sure you're not lying. You're going to be asked a lot of questions. Begging for support is already difficult. It's already dehumanizing in its own form. Then being passed through different kind of tests. You might have to take off your clothes to, look at the lump. You remove as a man was almost naked on Facebook about 2 months ago seeking for funds because he had anal cancer. He wanted people to see the anus that there is tumor, because he wanted to be believed. So this kind of thing will just reinforce these problems already for us. And I think Blessing was able to raise that kind of money because of our kind of society. Nigerians are very empathetic. You know, we have a lot of empathy. We still have a lot of our humanity left. Honestly, for someone like Blessing to raise that money, with her track record of lies and deceit, and people still felt so much pity for her to give her money, it shows we have our humanity intact. But it raises a question on who you actually support. We are still struggling with a system that has not learned philanthropy, long-term philanthropy, that people can dedicate their resources and time to a certain cause, like we see in the Western world, where people do that. In Nigeria, it's still struggling. Then the few that have this mindset to give are now being fooled and made fun of. Imagine her telling them she has to sell her wigs before she can refund their money. That is the height of her impunity. It's going to really, really impact the patients. But at the same time, for me as a person, I started questioning myself. Why was there a rush to quickly give her that money when I know so many patients in my radar that have been struggling for money for PET scan, which is about 1.4 million, and they've not raised it in the past 1 year. Some of them have died still begging that money with their bare chest on the internet, showing that they have no breast, with their bald head like my own, showing that I'm currently on chemo. But to raise money is a big challenge for us. People gave to her. I think it's because some of them want to be mentioned, and I'm not sure. Maybe she's an influencer. She's going to give them a shout out. Maybe because she's popular, they think, oh, she must be telling the truth. I'm not sure. I'm not very sure the reasons, but it's quite shocking to me that kind of money can be raised quickly. Meanwhile, people with genuine stories are languishing away and dying with their predicaments. It still baffles me. I still don't understand how we do our charity over here, honestly.
I'm not going to say anything. And then when trust is broken, the consequences are not online. They are in our own hospital beds, seeking help and can't find it. Anyway, let's keep going. Despite how serious this situation is, many people initially stayed silent or even supported the narrative. Why do you think society often reacts slowly in situations like this? Because I found it interesting, and when I started to read the comments, I got more and more angry because I was like, people are talking about me, forgetting that we all sit here. A lot of people don't even realize that I have cancer, you have cancer, you are bald, I'm not bald. There was a time I was bald. They don't realize that even our drugs are different. Like you said, 1 million, your own is more 1 million. Mine is more than 1 million. Mine is almost tens of millions, tens of thousands of pounds. And then somebody's playing cha-cha. I beg, let me just behave myself. So despite all of that, please answer my question. Did you get the question? Despite the situation, why do society react slowly? Why do they react slowly?
Okay. I think it's clear. It's because of the empathy we feel. Honestly, I like to believe that despite everything we've gone through, and despite our challenging terrain as a country, I want to believe that Nigerians have a lot of sympathy. And people were reacting slowly because they wanted to give her the benefit of doubt. I wanted, as a person, I knew that many people, when I sent her an open letter, many people said, Gloria, how can you believe Blessing? We know her track record. I said, yes, we're not going to judge her, completely by her past. What if she actually has cancer? And then we come out to drag her and say she's lying, and then tomorrow she really has cancer. It's going to taint our reputation as a person. It's going to show that we, as cancer patients, do not even have the required empathy that we ask for. So we were slow. People were slow because they wanted to be sure. They wanted to give her the benefit of doubt. They wanted to see that we don't react too quickly and get to regret it, which I think is a good thing.
I love you. I love it. Sorry, I've got you. I love you. I love your sense of empathy. I beg. I clap for you. I hail you. How? When the story get killed from the beginning, how did you get there? From the first sentence, from the shaving of the hair online. For goodness sake, they know say the thing they fall off. What's that? Came on television.
Yeah,
do they think that we don't like women? We don't like our hair? What's that? Don't say that. Don't say that.
You know, when somebody gets this diagnosis, the confusion is profound.
I agree. But
it
they're
just
not telling you to save your hair now.
You 360, and she might just want to be, oh, let me be ready for everything. Let me just start. What do? I don't know what to do. And in that panic, there might be some mistakes, which would have been corrected subsequently if she was telling the truth. So I wanted to give her that benefit of doubt until I was sure that she was lying. And I think that is what most Nigerians did. And honestly, I think it's a good thing.
No, I'm not saying it's not a good thing because I was quiet. We were quiet. A lot of cancer patients, apart from dragging her on the other side, in our communities, we expressed our concerns, right? We have to be honest. Yes. We all talked about this, but we were waiting to see. Yeah? It was just sad, anyway. It was just sad to watch how influencers jumped on it. But if cancer patients ask for the same thing, it's peanuts. That's the point. That was what really hurt. That if you and I go on there now, ask for money, we'll be still 100,000. Somebody that lied, million, 100 million, 20 million, 15, 10 million, what's that? Meanwhile, we won't get the disease when we find for PET scan, like you rightly pointed out. This week alone now, is it not you that have one bill we have to pay? If we go and say now that, can we please have the money for Gloria's scans now? Somebody would think that, well, they're lying. It's not nice now. Come on. Don't you have scans to pay for?
I do.
So let's call it as it is. We just found how many of our own that have PET scan to pay for now. Is it not small? We are begging the money to get the money for them. Why? And we are the patients having to beg for the money. Meanwhile, influencers will not come and help us. But they will help somebody that's telling lies. Let me just go to this question so that we can close nicely. Looking at everything that has come out of this case anyway. The confusion, the outrage, the investigations. Give me concrete steps, that must now be taken to protect genuine patients seriously and ensure credible cancer patient organizations. I'm focusing on patients because it's us that this thing pained are properly supported. No, I'm not saying the rest of the world weren't pained. They were pained. But for us, it was personal. It was like a personal thing to us. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so I think what I would expect is that she's arrested. You know, Blessing is not the first person I've heard do this kind of thing. It's just that this one hits very close to home. I follow this crime series, and I know that it has been an ongoing thing in other parts of the world. But the remarkable thing is that those series I watch, most of them were arrested, we are locked up, and we are made to refund the monies they took from the public. And I don't see why that has not been done to this lady yet. You know, people should be sanctioned. We have a sanctions problem. We have an accountability problem. People should be accountable for the wrongs they do to society, to people, both physical and psychological and emotional harm should be punished. So I think she should be punished, and I'm really, really waiting for when I will see that she has been charged to court and she's behind bars and she's refunding every single money she took from people and even meant to do other forms of restitution. And that will deter other people from playing this kind of games. Now, for the cancer community, I want to call on people, well-meaning Nigerians. I know there are people that have this money, a lot of money. Some of them don't actually know how to get in touch with people that need it. I was once in the hospital, and the man came into the hospital and said anyone that has been discharged but cannot pay their bills is going to pay for them. And right there before me, he cleared some people's bills, and people were so happy, and they went home. In fact, I even got 50,000 naira, even though I was still on admission for lunch. So I know there are people that have deep pockets, that are quite generous, that are quite empathetic. You know, this is a call to them that we have a community, genuine cancer patients, that will give you all the evidence you need, that you can verify from their doctors, that you can verify the hospital numbers. They have a history of treatments, of everything that they can show to you. Please send your help to genuine communities, you know, where these cancer patients can be tracked, to genuine non-profit organizations that have track records of supporting patients, that can be traced also, you know, that their work is out there speaking for them. We exist. In case you don't know, we exist. And you can always reach out to support. And be sure that your support will go where you want it to go and keep the right persons alive.
Thank you. Thank you, my darling. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. We both agree this controversy is heavy. This conversation is a very heavy one. And we've had a lot of conversations on it. Because cancer is not a story for you to use. It is a reality that we live with every single day. It is the mother who cannot afford her chemotherapy session. It's the father quietly selling his land to stay alive. It's the child who does not even understand why life suddenly feels different. So when dishonesty enters this space, it does more than take money. It takes trust, it takes dignity, and it places an even heavier burden on those of us already fighting for our lives. So to everyone watching us today has shown us things very clearly. Firstly, when dishonesty enters the cancer space, as we have seen with the Blessing CEO saga, it shakes trust. It makes people doubt. And the ones who suffer most are not online. They are the real cancer patients trying to survive. At the same time, it's deeply disappointing for me to have to mention that even the Nigerian National Commission for Refugee, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, and the Honorable Commissioner, has also allowed a commitment to cancer awareness remain unmet for over 2 years, with no clear plan of accountability or no urgency to pay to the services rendered to a cancer patient. This is not just about money. This is about value. This is about responsibility. This is about the lives behind the work. To everyone watching, before you donate, please pause and verify. Please encourage and support cancer patient organizations. We are the lived experience. Do not assume we are finished because we have cancer. Until God says this over, help us, please, to live. And please do not let our one false story blind you to the thousands of real ones, because we are here, still fighting, still hoping. And to you, Gloria, thank you for your voice and your work. And to our viewers, thank you for staying with us. I am Denise Ejo. Let us protect the truth. Let us protect patients. Gloria, I love you very much. And everyone, follow me on our social media handles, Come With Cancer Foundation, and watch this again. You need to catch up. We love you all. We, the patients, we appreciate all of you that stood for us. God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Indeed, help cancer patients and cancer survivors to live. Well, we're running out of time, so we bring you entertainment and lifestyle right now, and after then, we'll have Kakaaki Social close the show today. Stay with us.
Top of the morning to you, and welcome to Entertainment and Lifestyle on Kakaaki, the African Voice. I am Anu Awojobi. Let's take you to Delta State at the recently held Amasikuma Festival, where the sons and daughters of Baramatu Kingdom in Warri Southwest local government area, alongside distinguished personalities such as traditional rulers, captains of industry, and top government officials from parts of the country, converge on Oporoza town for the 2026 Amasikuma Festival. Amasikuma, an Ijaw language, means no evil will befall the community. The ancient week-long festival, celebrated annually by the Ijaw people of Baramatu Kingdom, is aimed at promoting peaceful coexistence, as well as serving as a unifying platform for diverse ethnic groups across the Niger Delta region. This year's festival showcased colorful, vibrant display of culture, unity, and traditional processions. Fiefwe of Baramatu Kingdom, God's Power Benekama, on behalf of the Pere of Baramatu Kingdom, His Royal Majesty Oborok Barun II welcomed all invited guests to the oil-rich kingdom.
What I'm seeing is a display of culture, a display of splendor, a display of unity, a display of resilience of a people who have agreed to unite as one.
The people of Baramatu Kingdom, they know what they are doing. It's to market the kingdom and what it has internationally and bring in foreign investors.
Over 30 members House of Reps are here to support culture, and one thing that is key in the House of Representatives is unity, because almost all communities are represented in the National Assembly. So I'm happy to be here.
We want to thank our president for giving us the needed support. The blessing that goes along with this Amasekama festival will go with them.
I encourage every other kingdom in Nigeria to promote their culture, to sustain their culture, and promote their way of life. I congratulate Baramatu Kingdom.
When the federal government partners with them in making this a global festival, it will boost the income of the environment, it will boost the income of the states, Delta states, and in Nigeria, because we would have tourists coming from various parts of the world to witness this festival.
Guests were thrilled to the unique cultural displays of the Ijaw ethnicity. The festival also saw notable sons of the kingdom conferred with chieftaincy title by His Royal Majesty Oborok Barun II. From Delta State, I take you to Shagamu, Ogun State, where the family of Odukoya from Imota and the Shode family from Shagamu, Ijebu-Oma Alare, bade farewell to their mother and matriarch, Mama Caroline Abike Odukoya, at a funeral party.
We know that she's in a better place. She has lived a good life. I was at her 90th birthday and she was still on her feet, walking up and down, greeting people. So that's a blessing. It's blessed.
Mommy's memories will be forever in my heart. And she impacted my life so much that I will forever cherish her memory. There is no word that can quantify the kind of mom she was to us.
My mom was a great woman, a kind-hearted woman, a woman of faith, a woman who taught us prayer, a woman who brought us to God and made us to know Christ.
She gave everything that she has. She gave her life, she gave her finance, she gave her support.
Mama was a completely detribalized Nigerian. I've always said that to everybody. I am the first non-speaking Yoruba member of that family, and I can attest to that. Mama put all of us together as sons and daughters. Like you use the word in-law, it doesn't exist in her vocabulary.
Gathered in this serene arena are the celebrators of Dickness Caroline Abike Odukoya, Nishode, decked in colorful attires to celebrate the life and times of the scholar, the late mother of Oluwatosin Dokpesi. When Tosin Dokpesi was called on the dance floor, she was flanked by the Ashoebi group, comprising friends, family, colleagues, and associates. Sure, you know the Ijebu people love to party. There were lots of local and continental dishes and choice wines to entertain the guests. The late social crusader and the king of Afrobeat music, Fela Anikulapo Kuti, and Nigerian-British singer-songwriter Sade Adu have been inducted into the 2026 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for their laudable influence and contributions to the global evolution of music. The inductees were announced by Judge Lionel Richie and host Ryan Seacrest during the annual Hall of Fame review segment on American Idol. With this laudable feat, Sade Adu and the late Abamieda Fela have made history as the first Nigerian artist to receive the honor. Fela was recognized in the early influence category, while Sade Adu was inducted into the performer category. Legendary British music manager and author who managed Fela's music in his lifetime, Ricky Steen, has also shared the news of his longtime friend's feat. The induction ceremony for the 2026 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is scheduled to hold for November 14th at the Peacock Theater, Los Angeles, California, United States. Just before I say goodbye, for your social events, trust AIT Entertainment and Lifestyle has got you covered. Many thanks for watching. I remain yours, Anu Awojobi.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Kakaaki Social, and sincere apologies for starting very late. Now let us begin. The political tension between key figures in Nigeria's leadership circle escalated after Vice President Kashim Shettima reportedly criticized Atiku Abubakar's record in public service, raising concerns about his past leadership and decisions. And reacting to this remark, Atiku did not hold back, accusing the Vice President of being disrespectful and dismissive. He also stated that Shettima's comments were not only inappropriate, but also unbecoming of someone occupying such a high office. Let's see this video and then to your reactions.
Kaninka, wanda kai ma ka taba zama jigo daga arewacin Najeriya a siyasar Najeriya, Kashim Shettima, ya kalubalance ka yace maka shekara 8 da kai kana mataimakin shugaban Najeriya, ka nuna wani aiki da kai ma arewacin Najeriya guda 8. Haka zalika ka nuna mutum 8 wayanda ka kafa a arewacin Najeriya. Me zaka ce mishi daga wannan?
Gaskiya ba zan ba Kashim Shettima amsa ba don bai da da'a. Na ɗaya dai na fi shi shekaru. Na biyu na fi shi sanin aikin gwamnati. Kuma baya cikin al'adar mu arewa. Haka kawai ka tinkari mutumin da ya fi ka girma, ya fi ka shekaru, ya fi ka ko menene. Ka zauna kana aza mishi bakar magana. Now let's
see what netizens are saying. Flora is saying, which record do you have? Your government suspended 2 governors in an emergency rule. You never condemned it. You started crying when Bola Ahmed Tinubu did say Adamawa remained poor under PDP, but it is getting higher allocations now. And Tema says, Atiku Abubakar, Customs Office good, Vice President good, Kashim Shettima, banker good, senator good, governor good, vice president good. The only difference is clear. Why should Atiku say that in the north you are not meant to question your leaders? I hope he preaches that to Malam El-Rufai. And our final reaction from Yemi says Atiku has less records in the political office than Shettima. Well, let us continue. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has stirred reactions after making a light-hearted remark directed at the Senate president during the commissioning of Nigeria's Revenue Service building. Speaking at the official event, the president, while addressing dignitaries, turned to the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, with a humorous but pointed comment. The comment, widely interpreted as a political jab, comes amid ongoing tensions and divisions within Nigeria's political space. Let's see this video.
I will send you to the other side. To represent me, and you can scatter them anyway they are confused.
Let's see what netizens are saying concerning that. Abe is saying, Tinubu's classic political banter. I'll send you to scatter the confused opposition. Pure strategy talk, while many Nigerians just want governance fixed, not elite chess. And we have another user, Valentine, who says, comment a president whom his country is bleeding should be making Kai. Yoruba people not supposed to talk for this country. Imagine what that just student is facing right now, and Tinubu is making fun of him. And we have King Buka, who says everything becomes joke to them because the citizens are jokers to themselves. Well, let us continue. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, has expressed optimism that Nigeria's insecurity challenges will subside after electoral cycle. Now, speaking at a recent engagement, Akpabio suggested that the wave of insecurity across parts of the country is largely driven by political activities and tensions associated with elections. Let's see this video and then we go see our reactions.
Today, it's even increasing because the election is coming. As soon as the election is over, watch out. The first 2 weeks, you will not hear any single bomb blast. Because people are sponsoring it to distract you. They don't know what else to do. They say this man is too good in many areas. If the governors are attracted to him because he's taking very good care of the states. He came in with less than 18 governors. Today he has almost 32 governors under his fold, out of 36. So where do we belong? How do you win election when you don't have the structure?
See what netizens are saying. Oracle PHC says, if insecurity is something that can disappear immediately after elections, then it raises serious questions. Is the violence truly beyond control, or is it being tolerated or even manipulated for political gain? And we have Bernard who says, why would not allow them increase? Abi, we not get enough funds to repel them after subsidy removal, after high price of unit tuition fee, after high price of healthcare. You all need to get your act together and serve us that voted you by providing security you promised. And finally, United is saying fear is the real opposition, and the government sponsors it perfectly every election cycle. So, Mr. Ababu, what happens after those 2 weeks? The killings resumed like clockwork. This isn't leadership. It is an open admission that insecurity is being switched on and off for political gains. The casual way lives are treated like election props is deeply disturbing because majority of Nigerians are not full. Well, that is how far we could go on today's edition. The promise is to be better tomorrow, but you can reach us via our social media handles, and my ladies are joining me